match it. I need to be alone with this book. Reading this book feels like a very personal experience. I'm so excited for this video. I'm ready for another 5-star read. It's been a minute. In fact, it's been almost 3 months at this point. I don't know what's going on, but I'm ready to get this reading back on track. I am ready to look for my next 5-star read. Murder Your Employer Volume 1, McMaster's Guide to Homicide. I don't think I've picked up a thriller that is anything like this, because this is set at a luxurious clandestine college dedicated to the fine art of murder. So this is set at a murder school. There's our first contestant. I'm very excited. Can I just say, I'm literally on page 2. I'm still on the foreword, but I'm really enjoying this already. I can already tell that this is gonna be very satirical. This existence, in the form now before you, represents a lifelong dream, that of placing in your hands bluntly an instrument of peace to facilitate a rest in peace for your intended target. After all, when the behavior of another person leaves you no choice but to kill them, their murder is simply involuntary suicide. It's too early to tell, but I already love the writing. I am just a little bit over 2/3 of the way through this book, and my feelings have definitely changed since I last talked to you guys. I'm still really enjoying the writing. It's very clever, very witty. There's a lot of really fun one-liners, and I feel like this would really lend itself well on screen. With that being said, the pacing is a little bit all over the place. The entire middle portion of this, I couldn't help but think, let's hurry up. Let's move on. It's about this school for murder called the McMaster's University. One of the main characters that we're following here is Cliff Iverson. He was actually sponsored by this mysterious benefactor. That's his actual schedule at the school. And it says here his major is delete employer. So they call murder deletion or deleting. I like how this book is exploring the gray areas of murder. Essentially makes you root for the murderer, but you don't really feel bad about it because the people that they're murdering are bad and they're doing really terrible things, and the world would be a better place without them. I really wish that we get to see more into the characters' inner workings. We get to see more of their emotions and what really motivates them. Like, yes, we learn why they want to kill their employers, but we don't get to see enough of the emotions behind it, which I think is very important, especially since this book is trying to make you empathize with the murderers. I think it's safe to say at this point that this book, unfortunately, is not going to be a 5 stars. Right now, it's hovering between a 3.5 and a 4. Hey guys, it's actually the next day, but I did finish Murder Your Employer yesterday. I have settled on a 3.5-star rating for this. Everything that I said earlier still stands. I really love the writing. I love the way this book is structured. It's so unique. I wish it was a little bit more introspective. I just wanted to get to see and get to feel what the characters were feeling a little bit more. As a character girly, I really need that connection with the characters for me to really love a book. So we're going to be continuing on with book 2. I don't know what direction I want to go in because I'm not entirely sure what mood I'm in. I'm in between The Mysterious Society of Lady Scoundrels and A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, which is kind of funny because I didn't realize until now that this book is actually blurbed by the author of this book. They were just giving me the same energy. It's definitely because of the cover. Like, they're very reminiscent of each other. The titles are both equally as ridiculous sounding, and I kind of love it. I think between these two, this one reminds me a lot of the Ex-Hex, which I did give a 5 star. This is giving me like the spring version of the Ex-Hex. So I feel like between these two, this one has more of a potential to be a 5 stars. That blurb has convinced me. I'm currently on chapter 14 of A Witch's Guide of what? Dating Your Demon? What is the title of the book? A Witch's Guide to Dating a Demon. I can't say the title. You know the book. The vibes are very similar to the Ex-Hex. It's this small town where there's a lot of witch magic. The ley lines are like crossed over or whatever. So there's like a lot of power in this little town, and it attracts the witches and a bunch of the other supernatural creatures. In this world, the supernatural creatures have always coexisted with humans. They're not trying to hide anything from people, which is kind of refreshing. As far as the romance is going, I'm only about a third of the way into the book. There's not a lot going on yet romantically, but already their banter is so much fun and their chemistry also really loving the dynamic between the best friend of the main character and the demon who is the love interest. She's very weary of him because he is a demon, but he is a little bit different from other demons. He's not like other demons. Oh my god, what are you ripping apart? I have a troublemaker puppy right here. She's also loving the book. You're loving it, right? You're into it? I just downloaded the audiobook so I can listen to it while I deal with this. I'm gonna make 2 flower arrangements from all of these. Well, let's talk about the flowers that I got. So this first one right here is chamomile. This is probably my favorite. Look how fucking cute that is. They're called Veronicas. I think they're really pretty. And then I also got some eucalyptus, some roses. Phew! Yellow mums. This regular bouquet of seasonal flowers. I finished A Witch's Guide to Dating a Demon. No. I finished A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. I really enjoyed it. I liked the characters. The romance was cute, but it was kind of a little too long. This is almost 400 pages. For the story, it really didn't need to be that long. And the ending was a little bit cliche. For that reason, I gave it a 4 stars. I still really enjoyed it, but it kind of started to lose me towards the end there. It got to a point where I just wanted it to be over because it felt like the story should have been done. But it just kept on going and going and going, which obviously means that the search for the next 5-star book continues. And I'm now moving on to my 3rd and 4th book since I'm reading 2 books. The first book that I started was Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Emily Wen Zhao. This girl lives in a world that's being invaded by a bunch of colonists. They're stealing their land, stealing their resources, killing their people, and taking away a lot of their history and their culture as well from them. And that includes the magic that is in their land. It's actually illegal for her people to do magic. Her mother was killed by one of these colonizers when she was very little. But right before her mom died, in a very Harry Potter-esque way, she protects her and leaves a magical scar on her arm. But nobody else can see this magical scar until she meets a boy who happens to be able to see the scar. Things start going downhill from there. It's really good so far. I'm on page 85, chapter 7. I'm really loving the writing. I'm liking the setting. Going by pretty quickly, so I'm happy about that. The next book that I started, Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home by Jessa Hastings. This is the 3rd book in the Magnolia Parks universe. I just started it. I've barely made a dent. I'm only on page 50. Oh, I'm also on chapter 7. I didn't realize that. I kind of started this on a whim. Every single time I read one of these books, I just kind of pick it up without really thinking much, and I just read through it slowly, and I know that I'm going to finish this before I finish this because I read the Magnolia Parks books so slowly because I am annotating pretty much every single page. And after reading just 7 chapters of this, I've been quickly reminded how Magnolia and BJ make me feel. I can't explain it. It's just this thing that they do to my heart. I'll wear it like a badge of honor forever that he loved me first, that he loved me at all. Have you ever had love like that? That's what's going on right now. I think I'm gonna read more of this tonight because I have it on my Kindle. My Whole from Libby became available yesterday, which is literally perfect. Oh wow, this lighting is not... I just want to say shout out to my barista at Starbucks today because she wrote a little note on my spinach feta wrap that says, "You got this." How cute is that? I love it. On to more important updates. My camera's gonna die. I'm still in the middle of Song of Silver, Flame Like Night. I really enjoy Lan and Zen's relationship. They're developing friendship and the tension because obviously there's gonna be a romance between the 2 of them. This is why I think a romance subplot is almost always superior to just a full-blown romance because there's like an added element to it, and I really love that. That front is going well, and the plot is moving along with I'm a little nauseous. Why am I so nauseous? You got this. It's also very, very fast paced. The plot is moving along very, very quickly. There's not really a single second where nothing is happening. It's so easy for me to fall back into the story because it's just action, action, action right away. It's also very, very atmospheric. The way that it's written is so beautiful. The imagery is absolutely gorgeous. The magic system is based on Chinese mythology, and I'm really loving it because it makes for a very nuanced story. They believe that nothing is 100% good or 100% bad, and that balance needs to be restored. There needs to be a balance in everything in order for you to fully appreciate everything that's happening. There's also like ghosts and visions and apparitions. So it's a very visual magic system, and in combination with the way that it's written, it makes for a very vivid story. There were some parts that were a little bit repetitive, obviously because you're learning about this magic system. I understand repeating it twice or maybe even 3 times just to kind of hammer in the point. I think I've been told 6 times already that yin is kind of the dark energy, and it's not necessarily evil, it's just darker, and it's what balances out the yang energy, which is, you know, the lighter energy. That concept has been explained multiple times to the point where it's like, okay, we get it. I feel like have a little bit of trust in your readers that they would understand that, you know what I mean? Not to compare this book to Babel, but this is kind of what I thought Babel was gonna be like. That book was being marketed as a fantasy that deals with themes of the dangers of colonialism, perversion of culture, and all of these things, which it did talk about that, but that book was barely a fantasy. And this is kind of what I thought that book was gonna be, because this is very much dealing with all of those themes as well, but it's very much focused on the fantasy, which in my opinion, they're very different stories, and I know that they serve very different purposes. This is what I wanted Babel to be, except this is like a YA version of what I wanted Babel to be. Even if it's a YA book, I think it deals with those things very well. There's also a lot more nuance in this, and I think again that has to do with the fact that it's focusing on this yin and yang, this push and pull energy, and good and bad. The entire point of Babel is to show you that sometimes people have to fight back with violence in order to take back what was taken from them. This book is also working up to show that. For my personal taste, I think this is doing a better job of showing us how violence is sometimes necessary. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that this is not hammering it in your face like Babel is. It's unfolding within the story, and it's woven into the plot. That's all I have to say about that. I finished Song of Silver Flame like I kind of match it. I've had to sit with my thoughts and my feelings about this book for a minute. There was a point, there were actually multiple points when I was reading this book that I thought that this was going to be my 5-star read. But the thing that kept on popping up in my head as I was reading this was, I need a break. Not because it was bad, not because it was boring, not because I wasn't liking what was happening, because so much was happening so quickly. The pacing of this book could have slowed down. It was at 100 miles an hour the whole time. The little moments where it did slow down a little bit for us to savor the moment, it didn't last long. I blinked and we were going 150 miles an hour again. It was so overstimulating. It almost felt like I was watching a crazy action movie with explosions every 2 seconds. And then when we got to the ending, I was a little bit underwhelmed. Not because it was a terrible ending, but because it felt like there was no ending. When I got to the last page, I was so confused. I was like, is my book okay? Why does it say epilogue? Because I feel like we didn't really conclude the story. The entire ending really felt like it was just setting us up for the next book. I guess we got like the big answer, right? But other than that, like there were so many things that were left open to the point that it really felt like I was just ending a chapter, which makes me very excited for the next book because I really do care about these characters and I care about the plot, so I care about what happens, but I'm a little bit sad that we were just left there. The ending was just not satisfying at all. It felt so incomplete. It's 455 pages and it felt like this could have been longer. This could have been longer by like 200 pages and I wouldn't have minded, just so we would have gotten like a more complete story, and also we would have gotten more breaks from the action, because I actually really enjoyed those moments where they were just doing their thing and then living their lives, especially since the setting in this world is so vivid in my head that I actually really liked being in the world. I do appreciate a fast-paced book. I love a fast-paced book. This was almost too fast. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I really do commend this book and the author for being able to handle the themes and have them be like a very prominent part of the plot and part of the story without it overpowering the plot. The story was still strong. The mythology and the actual fantasy world was really, really well done. The themes were interwoven into the actual story as opposed to the theme leading the story, if that makes sense. I ended up giving this a 4 stars. Obviously, it was not my 5-star read, unfortunately. Alas, we must move on. I just got to part 2. The amount of times that I've had to put this book down for a couple of minutes at a time, I just had to take a breather from the shit that's been happening. It's actually really hard to breathe right now. If you've never read this book, or if you've read this book and you hate it, which I understand why people don't like this book, I totally get it, trust me. But if you are one of the people who absolutely love this series and who cannot get enough of BJ and Magnolia, I'm sure you know exactly how I'm feeling right now. Oh my god. It's 12 a.m. right now. I'm trying my hardest not to scream right now because people are sleeping, but oh my god. Oh my god. I don't know. This entire first half of this book has just been bombshell after bombshell after bombshell, okay? The first 20% of the book, we find out what the fuck is wrong with BJ and we find out why they are the way they are within like 10 pages of each other. I have not had a break. She's going to Central Park at midnight. I have a headache. I'm literally giving myself a headache right now. That's my update. I'm halfway through. I need to be alone with this book. Reading this book feels like a very personal experience. I'm so excited to go to Central Park at midnight. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much for coming to this TED Talk. It's 3 a.m. and I'm still reading this stupid fucking book. I have to be up at 5:30. My eyes are drooping, but I can't stop. I can't stop. They're so messy. I'm literally here vacuuming up all of the crumbs of their mess and I can't stop. I'm so tired. I really need to go to bed. I don't want to put it down. We're there. I'm in the 3rd act, so I know something crazy is about to go down, which means that I need to go to bed before I just don't sleep at all. Oh my god. I have to be up in 2.5 hours. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from reading. I'm exhausted from BJ and Magnolia. I love Julian. I love Julian and Daisy Hates, but I love him even more than that. I think I'm in love with the gang lord. I hate the word gang lord, but I think I am in love with the gang lord. I did it. I finished this book last night. Before I tell you about my thoughts on it, I'm gonna show you something really quick. I started off using this pen to underline, draw some brackets, you know, the normal things that I do to annotate a book. This had a good amount of ink in it when I started. Look at it now. It's gone. Completely gone. I had to get a brand new pen started so I can keep on annotating. That's how much I wrote in this book. As far as like my favorite quotes, I was highlighting them with this mild liner right here. You see this right here? This mild liner is no longer working. The ink is completely empty. You can see the tips. I don't know if it's gonna focus, but the tips of it are turning white. And that happened not even halfway through the book, okay? So I had to get this Crayola marker that's a similar color to that so that I can continue highlighting. And guess what? It's gone. That marker was fighting for its life. Fading here at the very end. There's parts of it that you can't even see the highlight anymore because of how faded it is. The only thing that really survived throughout the whole annotation process are my tabs. I think it's very obvious that I gave it a 5 stars. The roller coaster of emotions that I went through while reading this book, every single time I'm reading about Magnolia and BJ, I get sucked into their orbit and it's hard to get out because the gravitational pull is so freaking strong. Every single time that I picked this book up, I had to make sure that I had blocks of time available because I would not want to stop. I was almost late to several commitments I had because I was reading this book and I couldn't make myself stop. I love Julian. He was like one of my favorite parts of this book. We didn't even get a lot of Julian, but the crumbs that we got. Those crumbs. I was living for those crumbs. I was on the floor licking them. Okay, that's so gross. That's such a gross image. The way Jessa Hastings writes, it scratches an itch in my brain. There's so many quotes on here that I literally want to get tattooed on my body. And I'm not a quotes tattoo type of girl. I don't really like word tattoos, but I would get some of these quotes tattooed on my body. Like, that is how much I love them. Let me read you this. The canary that lives in my ribcage jumps onto its bird swing and starts to chirp away. In the loudest loudest room in London can feel like a slow river running over small stones at midnight when he zones in on me. When he turns down the volume of the world with eyes I'll never get past. We have our winner. She takes the crown. So these are all the books that I ended up reading for this challenge. We're at a total of 4 books, which is a decent amount. I'm very glad that I did this challenge. I'm very glad that I read these books. Not only did I get through a decent chunk of my physical TBR, I also found a new 5 stars. I met some new favorite characters as well. I think that was a win. I'm very excited to be done. So that's it for this video. I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know what your latest 5-star read is. I'd love to know if you've read this book. If you read any of these books, but specifically if you've read this book, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. I think I could write a dissertation on this.